T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, everybody? I came on because I had to share my thoughts on Halloween Ends, and man, are they all over the place. I don't really know where to start, so I'll try to do some non-spoiler stuff to start off with. This is a tough one, you guys. This is definitely a tough one. If you've been watching my channel, you know that for the longest time, I was trying to avoid all spoilers to this. And it came crashing down on me about 2 weeks before the movie came out. We got a bunch of trailers that showed way too much. But you already know that because you saw the trailers. And if you've seen this movie, I would like you to stick around for my spoilers a little later on. I think it'll be... God, I don't even know where to go with it. Let's start with how I felt about this movie. The first 40 minutes or so, I was digging the movie. It didn't really feel very Halloween. It almost felt like a side story, like a Haddonfield side story almost. And believe it or not, I was digging it. I was totally digging this movie. God, we have so much to get into tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween Ends. I would love to know what you thought about this movie. Let's give it another couple minutes before I really get into it. Let a few people get in here. I know YouTube notifications are terrible about letting people know, and I kind of decided to do this last minute. So let's go ahead and roll my intro before we get started. And I'm not going to be on too long tonight. I'm thinking maybe 30 minutes or so because it is very late for me. It's 11 p.m. and I usually get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I stayed up late to talk about this. I watched it a second time before coming on here. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to be sure my thoughts were what they were before I got started. So let's go ahead and roll the intro, and then we'll get started as soon as that's over. And here we go.
This is where the fun begins.
I apologize. My sound was off. So let me go ahead and start over. You gotta love live. There's always something that's gonna go wrong when you go live. So, starting back to what I was saying before, we're gonna start over again because you didn't hear any of that. But the intro of the movie gave that Halloween 3 vibe to it. Now, I am not a big fan of Halloween 3, but I may be coming around just a little bit. But we're not going to tell anybody about that because so many people were telling me how good it was. And I kept telling them it's terrible. But, we're not going to talk about that. So it did have a little Halloween 3 vibes. And you get into the story to where you're seeing familiar characters from the past two movies. Well, three if you're counting Laurie from the original, and they're going about their lives in a casual way. And I got to be honest with you, I was not hating that. It was good until about the first 40 minutes. And then the movie started to turn. It's almost like it became another movie. And I started having problems with it then. Not that it didn't have problems in the first 40 minutes of this movie, but when you get into the second half of the movie, it's almost like it becomes something else. And if I'm going to be honest with you, that's where my opinion, of course, the movie went to shit. And I usually don't talk like that too much on my stream, but that's the only way that I can really describe the feelings that I had about this movie. Like it was all over the place after that. It felt nothing like a Halloween movie. And the most disappointing thing to me about this movie was the ending. And again, I'm not going to go over too many spoilers at the beginning. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but probably one or two more. I feel like it did no justice for characters that we've known for over 40 years at this point. I feel like it didn't come through, especially being the end of a trilogy. Like, this was a trilogy of movies that this was supposed to be the end of. This was supposed to be the grand finale. This was supposed to bring a great story. Well, what started as a great story, Halloween Kills, was, you know, not the best, but in its own way, it was awesome. This was supposed to bring about the end of a trilogy and its grand finale, and I feel like it missed the mark so bad. And it pains me to say it. I mean, look, Michael, I that's my guy, well, one of my guys. I don't feel like the characters in the story were done the justice that they deserve to wrap up this trilogy. We got a new character who whose story was brought into the fold, I feel like too late. They focus so much on the Corey character. We know Corey from the trailer. They focus so heavy on that character and trying to build up his character, but I feel like it was too late. Why wait until the third movie to bring a character in and try to build an attachment with your audience in the final film? That's somebody, in my opinion, that if you wanted to bring the story around a certain character, that you would have introduced way before the final film. And the only thing that comes to my mind is the same with the trailer. Why? Why did we do this? But yeah, there was also some disappointing things that came across that I don't feel we got closure on that were brought up in the other movies. There were other character arcs that were started that we did not get closure on. There were main characters that ended up becoming side characters. And it's just like, wow, this could not be more disappointing. I'm already invested in a character arc, and now you're going to throw that away to bring in somebody new, and the actor did a great job who played Corey. I can't knock him for that. You know, you can only act your script. I do not blame any of the actors for my feelings towards this movie because in my opinion 95% of them did fantastic. You can't blame them. But why push off stories that you've already had that didn't get closure to bring somebody new into the fold and focus on them for the whole movie? I just don't understand what they were thinking. Now, I cannot blame David Gordon Green for trying something different. He did. And in my opinion, of course, it kind of fell flat. It fell flat on its face. I've watched it 2 times now. My initial reaction, I watched last night, I felt a certain type of way. I went to work today, you know, thinking about it and thinking about it. It's like you can't hate a Halloween movie that much. We're gonna give it another try when we get home. You know, I was going to come home from work and go live right then, but I was like, no, you know what, Michael, watch it one more time and we'll see what we think. We'll see if anything changes. Well, it didn't. I just watched it again, literally turned it off, set this live up, and here I am. And I got to tell you guys, like, it did not change for me. Sometimes when you watch movies, you know, you feel different after you watch it a second time. And, you know, you feel, okay, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. And yes, I agree with you. You know, sometimes they do run out of ideas. And maybe they did. You know, maybe that's what happened with them. But I feel like they were trying so hard to make this different that they lost track of what Halloween was really about. They lost track of why we love these characters so much, of why the shape is the shape. And man, and I definitely can't blame James Jude Courtney because to me, he's still tied with Nick Castle for the best Michael Myers that's ever been played. I mean, fantastic. He did fantastic in what little of the movie he was in. So I would like to, you know, go into a little bit of spoilers about this movie. Well, starting off, you know, we got the Halloween credits. I talked a little bit about that. I was feeling that, you know, Allison's driving her car. A cop pulls up behind her. I was like, here's Hawkins. And it wasn't. It was some guy we've never met who ended up being a douche, you know, and it just kind of started off. It's like, well, okay, you know, we're getting a lot of side characters, but it's starting off as a side story. And again, like I said, for the first 40 minutes, you know, I'm invested. You know, prior to that, they went into the whole Corey story arc. He was babysitting a kid and accidentally killed the kid. So he's an outcast at this point in the town. You know, he opens a door, it knocks the kid off a balcony. Kid dies. You know, he ends up getting charged with, you know, I forget. It was some degree of manslaughter or something. You know, he wasn't in jail 4 years later or 3 years later after that. So obviously it couldn't have been, you know, too tough of a charge because he was out. And they focus on that character. You know, you see Allison, you see Lori. Lori has tried to put Michael behind her and live a normal life. And she's doing that. You know, she's living with Allison. You know, they're getting along pretty well. Allison has a job. You know, she had just lost her parents in the last movie. She's doing good. And Lori meets Corey in a situation at a gas station and he ends up hurting his hand. Allison works at a doctor's office. Lori brings Corey there and he meets Allison and, you know, they hit it off and become a thing. And up until this point, you know, I'm thinking, where the hell's Michael Myers at? It's okay. You know, we're 20 minutes into this movie. It's fine. He'll show up. You know, this is a grand finale, right? He's the man. This is why we come to the theater to see it. And so the movie goes on and on. And after about 30 minutes, I'm like, wow, man, you know, I haven't seen the shape yet, but I'm definitely digging this movie. Then in about the 38 to 40-minute mark is where it all turns. So what happens is Corey's walking home from a party. The kids that, were responsible for him getting hurt at the gas station, and they end up, jumping him. And it's one of the kids had a mullet, and the fact that nobody's talking about this mullet is driving me crazy. This kid had a mullet and drumsticks, not like the drumsticks you eat, actual drumsticks. Anyway, so they knock him off of a bridge. He's knocked out. They take off, and Michael Myers comes out of the sewer. You don't really see him. He drags Corey in the sewer. Like, okay, well, here's Michael, so we can get started, right? So Corey wakes up in the sewer and he's alone, thinking, okay, that's weird. Maybe it wasn't Michael that grabbed him. So he's walking through the sewer, and as we see in the trailer, Michael reaches out and starts to choke him. Michael's choking him and looks him into the eye, and I don't know if they were going for him transferring evil to Corey at this point, but you kind of get a flash into his eye. Michael sees into him and sees what Corey's been through and lets him go. He lets him live. And I got to be honest with you guys. I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? Okay, it's different. I can live with it. Let's see what happens, right? That's what I'm thinking when I'm watching it. So he lets Corey go. Corey leaves the sewers. He's climbing out of there. He's freaking out. He just got choked by Michael Myers. He barely got away. I get it. And then he starts acting different. So it's almost like what I put together was Michael transferred some of his evil into Corey. And, people speculated about that. And the whole entire time, in all honesty, I'm thinking, that's crazy. They're not going to do that, right? They're not going to make it about that, right? Guess what? They made it about that. So Corey starts acting different, right? He's a nerd before, he's real shy, he's real timid, and now all of a sudden he's a badass. Again, the Christine references that are, put in here, only the car is now Michael Myers. And of course, Corey, he's got that darker side to him. And he goes to see Lori, and he's kind of standing by the bushes as Michael was with the laundry in the original Halloween. He's just standing there looking at her. And, of course, she freaks out. She goes downstairs. He's gone, but then appears behind her. And she looks in Corey's eyes. Lori looks in Corey's eyes and is like, basically, I see Michael. Really? You look in someone's eyes and all right, I can live with it. Let's see how this goes, right? So he gets together with Allison, he starts talking to her about, what's going on and everything with him. Of course, leaves out the part about Michael because we all know that Michael killed both Allison's mother and father and tried to kill her, killed her boyfriend. Allison's, she doesn't have a great track record with Michael. So I would probably leave that out, right? So he shows her, where his accident happened, and they start to build a ridiculously fast relationship. I mean, like 2 days, 3 days, they're inseparable at this point. And I get that people connect, I get it. But I'm just like, all right, I can live with that too. So it gets to a point where Corey starts to have an altercation with someone that was dating Allison prior. And so he gets him to follow him. And of course, he takes him to Michael, right? And Michael kills the guy. But Michael's weak. Like he looks like he's been beaten down. Granted, it's been 4 years since, he went through all his stuff. Who knows what he's been up to for 4 years, but let's just say life has not been good to him. He's bent over, his right arm doesn't work, he's covered in mold. We saw that in the trailer. And this guy's basically kicking Michael's ass. So Corey's helping him, and Corey's beating him. I think he had a flashlight that he was hitting him with and knocks him down and holds him down while Michael stabs him. And, Michael stabs him and ends up killing him. And then Michael kind of stands up straight, like it gave him strength, like it healed the shape. And I'm like, okay, so maybe I can connect that with what Laurie said about, the more he kills, the more he transcends. That's where my mind's at the time, right? And I'm like, all right, I can live with that too. Now, I'm I'm really trying to live with a lot of things at this point, looking back at it, but I'm gonna let it go. Well, the whole time Michael's killing this guy, Corey's screaming, teach me how to do it. And this just goes against everything that we know about the shape. It goes against everything that we like about this character. But again, I'm going to say okay and, keep watching and see where this goes. Well, to make a long story short, it becomes like Batman and Robin. They kill people together. And that's exactly what I did not want to see with this movie. Michael with a buddy, Michael with a partner. So everything that we know about Michael Myers, everything that we know about the shape, has now changed because he's getting older and he's hurt. And it doesn't even seem like he's using Corey. It just it almost seems like a buddy movie. At some points, it's an awkward buddy movie, but it's almost like a buddy movie. Kind of like The Other Guys or something like that without the comedy. We'll replace comedy with horror. So, some other things happen and it gets to a point to where Corey wants to kill more people and he wants to do it as Michael Myers. So he goes back to the sewers where Michael is and he beats up Michael and steals his mask. You're going to tell me this 22-year-old kid is going to beat up Michael and steal his mask? He's going to beat up the shape like he's nothing and steal his mask? That was one of the and I mean the fight looked ridiculous. It was like two kids wrestling in the backyard. Like it was terrible. It was basically like I'm going to hold you down and steal your lunch money and then climb out of the sewer. And that's essentially what he did. He held Michael down, he stole his mask and he left with it. If somebody would have told me this last year, I would have called them absolutely ridiculous. I would have told them that they were absolutely ridiculous. But guess what? That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. So Corey steals Michael's mask. He goes off and kills some people dressed like Michael. And then he's going to go kill Laurie Strode. Well, that didn't go over so well for him. Let's just say Laurie shot him and he died. Well, they always come back. So Allison comes back, sees that Corey's dead, freaks out. Like, what did you do? She doesn't know what he's done. And she leaves, and Corey's laying there dead on the floor. And Michael comes in. And of course, Michael sees his mask there. He goes to grab it to put it on, and Corey springs back to life after he stabbed himself in the neck and been shot twice. Well, Michael breaks his neck and takes his mask back. What ensued next was the most disappointing part of this movie. Now, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's the most disappointing part because Corey stealing Michael's mask, that was pretty damn disappointing. But you would expect their final battle to be one of epic proportion. And it was anything but that. It was so short. And I mean, essentially, Laurie kicked the shit out of him, killed him, Well, Allison came back and helped her finish, but I mean, there was really no fight. I mean, the fight literally lasted a minute and a half max. They kill him, and that's when the most disrespectful thing happens. And they tie Michael to the hood of the roof of their car like a fucking Christmas tree. And they drive him through town so everyone can see that he's dead with a police escort. So I want you to see I want the whole town to see Michael's dead. And believe me, if you love this character, this is where it's even worse. They take him to a junkyard. They put him in one of those grinders that crush cars. And to make sure that he's dead for sure, they basically grind him up. And that's it. That's the end of the movie. I feel like, and this is no fault of James Hugh Courtney, because like I said, still tied for my favorite with Nick Castle for the best shape, the best Michael Myers. They did Michael so dirty in this movie. The movie was an hour and 50 some odd minutes long. Michael got less than 15 minutes of screen time during this movie. The reason we go to see this movie, we got 15 minutes of. And like I said, the first 40 minutes, I was okay with it. But you're going to tell me for the next hour and 20 minutes that I'm only going to get 15 minutes of why I came to see this movie, of why there are so many fans of this movie. And not only did I barely get any Michael Myers, I got a broken down Michael Myers who gets his ass kicked basically through the whole thing and then gets grinded up and killed. Needless to say, I'm very disappointed in this movie. The amount of time that I waited for this movie and the amount of effort that I put into talking about this movie and, just I can't wait till Halloween ends. I can't wait till Halloween ends. I look forward to this movie since Kills was over. And this is what we got. And I don't mean to make this a depressing live show. But at the same time, I feel like I should just be entirely honest. And I've got to say, if I had to rank this movie out of 10, the best I can do is give it a 6. Now, in comparison to other Halloween movies, there still are a few that, let's be honest, that are still worse than this one. But at the end of the day, if you are gonna end a trilogy, wouldn't you think that you would put all of your effort into doing it in grand fashion? I was on Craven Something Scary about a week ago, and we talked a little bit about it. And I had a hard time, with all the things that were revealed. Prior to that, I was on the Night Watch, and I joked around with those guys, and I said, you know what? If we go down this road, the road that we just went down, I feel like I will write a sternly worded letter. I don't even know if people write letters like that anymore, but I feel like this deserves a letter. Come on, guys. Well, I am very disappointed in this movie, and I will be talking about it with friends tomorrow. I will be on Craving Something Scary tomorrow. We will get into this, but I wanted to give you guys about 30 minutes of my time to just let you know my first reaction to this. Am I going to watch it again? Yeah, I will. I'll watch it again. I watch all of these movies so much, and I definitely will have to watch it again. But I don't see my opinion changing too much. I mean, every way that I look at this movie, I'm more disappointed than anything else. I do appreciate some of the things that they were trying to do. And another thing, before I go, something I totally forgot. And I talked a little bit about this, when I first started before I was talking about spoilers. Character arcs. Hawkins. Halloween Kills built up this backstory for Hawkins. It started in Halloween 2018. He was going to kill Michael. Sartain stabbed him, ran over him with the car. He was in the hospital for Kills, but at the beginning of Kills, they gave that great flashback scene. That great flashback scene where Hawkins stopped Michael from being killed that night. And his whole thing was, I'm going to end the boogeyman. Here's this whole Hawkins arc that, I'm looking forward to seeing end, where Hawkins is just a side character. I mean, he's literally in 5 minutes of the movie. We get nothing from that. We get no closure from that story. Other than the fact that when he was in the grocery store, he said, yeah, I'm doing better. I'm living better. So we build all that up for that. Like I said, I will be on a couple other shows coming up here soon, and I will definitely be doing another live talking about this, maybe a week out. Let's give myself a week to marinate on this. And next weekend, just to let people know, I will be going to Scarefest in Lexington. So if you happen to be going to Scarefest and you happen to see me walking around, come up to me and say, what's up? I love meeting people that are into the same things I am into. So if you see me at Scarefest and I'm walking around, don't hesitate to come and say, what's up? Well, I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. And I want to thank you for joining me. And if you're watching this video after, please drop a like and a comment. That helps out the channel. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next time.